So we're still in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and the Clippers have been bounced out a while ago, which is unfortunate, right? Because over the past decade or so, the Clippers have had several teams that could have been in the NBA Finals, but it never happened. Like you had Doc Rivers Clippers with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, and then you have recently Ty Lue's Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Russell Westbrook. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. Like when it comes to Doc's teams, I think Doc has always been overrated as a coach. I like Doc, but as we've seen with Milwaukee and before that with Philadelphia, he's a slightly above average coach. And I don't think he really utilized those Blake Griffin and Chris Paul teams because JJ Redick was on that team. Pat Bev was on those teams. So they should have at least made it to one final. Ty Lue's team, I think Ty Lue is actually a better coach because he was here with the Cavs with LeBron when the Cavs only championship. And he's done a good job with the Clippers, but again, they go as far as Kawhi goes. And Kawhi, for the most part, was pretty healthy. It's just probably been the healthiest Kawhi's been since Toronto Kawhi. But he got injured before the playoffs, and they just sank like a rock. And Paul George isn't one of those dudes who can carry a team anymore. And maybe younger Russell Westbrook could, but Russell's older now, so he can't carry a team like he once did. So Steve Ballmer, who owns the Clips, I'm sure he's sad about the fact that he hasn't made it to a finals. But the reason why that man is smiling today is, I'll read from this post from Dividend Seeker. Ex-Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, who also owns the LA Clippers, still owns about 4.5% of Microsoft shares. Those shares earn Ballmer nearly $1 billion in annual dividend income. Can you imagine? You go into the bank, it's like, oh, there's an extra billion. I think I saw another post where he basically every quarter, because Microsoft pays every quarter for dividends, someone said that he makes like $223 million every quarter. Can you imagine? I've always had this fantasy that if I ever made enough money, a nice portion of my cash would go into dividend stocks, and I would just live off dividend stocks as a middle class salary. Because the middle class salary, the average middle class salary is $64,000. So if you have dividend stocks and it pays you yearly 64, like between $50 to $100,000 a year, that's a nice life. But you can do that too. So here's an example I want to give you. Now, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial person. I'm just a guy who loves pop culture and interesting things, but I do have an idea. So let's say that you won Mega Millions or Powerball. And not the big crazy amount like 750 million, 1.1 billion. Let's say just you won a ticket and you won $5 million, which is on the low end, but you're still a millionaire now. Well, the government's going to take half. So they're going to take 2.5. So you're down to $2.5 million. Keep the 2 million in the bank. Take that $500,000 and find a dividend stock to invest in. It could be Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson, Exxon Mobil. There's a ton of stocks that brand names like Coca-Cola and Home Depot and smaller names you don't know like Maine and some other ones that pays really good dividends. But I'm going to focus on AT&T. So AT&T pays a dividend of 27 cents every quarter. Now the stock currently is trading around $17. Now you would think AT&T like that should be a lot higher, but it hasn't been the best of companies over the years, but it's been consistent. Like it's not a bad company. It's just they just been around $16, $17 a share for a while. So $17. Take that $500,000 and buy 25,000 shares. I think it came out to like $429,000. So take the rest of that money, put it back into the bank. With 25,000 shares at 27 cents per dividend, you can make, I think it was like $6,900 a month. And like I said, AT&T also pays quarterly. That's $27,000 a quarter, which comes out to $81,000 a year. Now, I told you the average salary in the U.S. is $64,000. So if you had enough money, $500,000 from a lottery, and invest that, you can be making $81,000 a year. You know why this is a good idea? So most people who win the lottery ends up blowing all their money. They blow it on cars, homes, giving money to friends, popping bottles. Then the wife, after a while, says like, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm going to take half your cash. There's so many people who went for millionaires and back being broke. And let's say that happens. Because like I said, you still got $2 million in the bank, right? Let's say you lost all that money. If you keep those AT&T stocks, that's still $81,000 a year. That's a good life. I wish I could do that. It'd be so great if I could just sit back and it's like, oh, there's another $6,000 in my account every quarter. Oh, that's nice. And again, you don't have to do AT&T. You can do whatever you want. There's stocks that's cheaper. There's stocks that's more expensive. But just get into the habit of investing. Just get into the habit of investing and just try a dividend stock. And let's say $100 a month. Just try $100 a month, right? Take $100 and buy whatever dividend stock you want. Now, if it's AT&T, you can buy like 5 stocks for like $82. And let's say you're minimum wage, so you don't have that type of money. Just start buying one. Go on Robinhood or something like that, and buy one stock. And every paycheck, just buy. Okay, I'm buying this AT&T stock for $17. That's one stock, and just keep on buying stock every paycheck. Buy every paycheck. Just they say, okay, set it up at Robinhood or wherever you want to, whatever brokerage you want, and just keep on buying every month. And after a while, that adds up, because we're in a tricky time in America right now. Because after the pandemic, like it seemed like things were going okay for people. Like, people were having cash. People had, we got those stimulus checks for a while, and that was helping out for a minute. And then the food started to go up, gas started to go up, everybody started to skyrocket. And we're at a space now where rent's horrible. More people getting kicked out. They're becoming homeless. People got to figure out what they buy for food. When it comes to pills, sometimes people don't fill their prescriptions because they can't afford it. And people are looking for side hustles. They're looking for different income streams. And I'm telling you, the stock market's not going anywhere. Yeah, like anything else in life, it could crash. I don't think it's going to crash because they protect themselves. As long as we got rich people in the world, they're not going to let that stock market crash. But please focus on investing. And again, dividend stocks are the best way to go. People play penny stocks. That's really risky. So just go. If you don't want to do the individual stock, buy an ETF. ETFs are always good because that's like a bulk of stocks, like the Fortune 500. So like a bunch of stocks in there, like McDonald's and all that stuff. Or there's tech stocks that you have like Microsoft and Amazon and things like that. But please start investing to save your money, because we don't know when everything is just go to hell and you need that extra cash. So tell me, if you're an investor and you invested in dividend stocks, what dividend stocks should people know? Big names, small names. You don't have to say how much you make every month, but tell me your experience about being a dividend investor. And because if you do well, again, you might not be this guy. You might not be Steve Balmer and you make $200 million every quarter. You might not be that guy, but it'd be nice to have gas money, light bill money, money for heating. Like, if all you get out of this is like, hey, I got an extra few dollars every month so I can pay my car note, that's just as good. And you might be smiling like that guy.